I didn't know how much money people were making. These creators in beauty, they make a lot of money. I have pretty strict and traditional parents. I literally didn't tell them that I quit my job until 3 months after. When I told them, they're like, oh, you should go back to your job. I was like, it's already been 3 months and you didn't even notice that I didn't have a job. And honestly, I haven't really looked back because I just really enjoy the freedom that it gives me. And the fact that I have like a full-time income from this is like mind-boggling to me. It's kind of like the dream that I have ever since I was in middle school. Anytime that someone comes up to me, I feel like I'm more of a fan. I was like, oh my gosh, like how are you? Honestly, I get really excited. I'm like, oh, this is like so cool.
Today on the pod, we have my friend Helen Liao, also known as ThruHelensLens on social media. She's a popular content creator with millions of likes on TikTok for her amazing skin and makeup advice. Helen, your videos have actually helped so many people get the look that they want through products that really make a difference for them. And I also wanted to say a personal thank you because a few years ago, you recommended me some sunscreen back when I had no idea what skincare meant. And I continue to use that sunscreen that you recommended even through today. I'm really excited to dive in a little bit deeper, learn about your background, how you got started in skincare and makeup. So with that, maybe you could just start with a bit of an intro about yourself, your personal background, and what your interests were growing up.
Thanks, Abe. I'm glad to hear that I've influenced you in a good way because I feel like so many people, especially guys, like just don't wear a lot of skincare or like sunscreen until like we get older. But, you know, sunscreen is always the most important thing. So I'm glad that you're wearing it consistently. My name is Helen, also known as ThruHelensLens on all my social media platforms. I'm 25 years old and I'm a beauty and wellness content creator. So I had a pretty normal childhood. I think like growing up, I just like grew up in the suburbs of the Bay Area, pretty normal. I went to Berkeley and I studied econ there, thinking that I was going to do something in business. But I've done a lot of internships in that, and I'm not going to say that I don't like it because I honestly like didn't have too much of a bad time like in corporate. I actually really enjoyed my managers. I've always really enjoyed my coworkers and everything. But I think kind of during the pandemic, I think a lot of people felt this way, and I really reevaluated what I wanted to do with my life. Like I always thought I wanted to be like a content creator. Like I've been consuming content on YouTube and on other platforms like Instagram and everything since I was like in 8th grade when it started with Michelle Phan doing all of her skincare and makeup tips. And I always thought that I wanted to do something like that. But I think what really held me back in the beginning was just the fear of like kind of growing into it. Like you look at all of, like my old videos and I honestly cringe at that, but I'm glad I got over that after I graduated because when I started my corporate job, I wanted to have some sort of like side hobby. So I started posting on YouTube. I just really enjoyed going on TikTok and seeing all of, like the different tips and like dances. I can't dance, but like I enjoyed seeing other people's. So I think I posted all kinds of content under the sun. I post like funny content, all of that's hidden now, so you guys can't see that. But I posted like funny skits and stuff. I posted finance content because I was getting really into like credit card points and everything. I was posting fashion, I was posting skincare, but what really kind of kicked off or kind of went viral was the skincare content because I think during that time was when everyone thought we were only going to be indoors for like 2 or 3 months and everyone wanted that glow up or they really wanted to take control of their life when it felt like there was no control during the pandemic. So I think that's when skincare became like a really popular kind of industry during that time. So that kind of stuff really kicked off, and ever since then I've been making skincare content mainly on TikTok and Reels, so like short form content. But in terms of my corporate career, when I realized that skincare was taking off and just like short form content was taking off in general, I just kind of felt like I was putting 50-50 into my platforms as well as like my corporate job. And during that time, I just felt like I didn't have much to lose. I didn't climb the corporate ladder that much yet. I might as well try and do this full time, and if anything, I have the experience in my resume and everything to get a job if it doesn't work out, you know. I've been doing this full time since September 2020, and honestly I haven't really looked back because I just really enjoy the freedom that it gives me and just really enjoy the work that I do. I mean, I would be doing this regardless if I was getting paid or not. So the fact that I have like a full-time income from this is like just really mind-boggling to me. It's kind of like the dream that I have ever since I was like in middle school.
That's awesome. And it's interesting to hear that you say you're telling us about how when you first got started with content, you were trying all different types of genres, like the skits, the credit card points, all these different categories. Would you say you decided to focus on the beauty and skincare stuff because it was growing, or was it because it was the thing that you were most interested, or a combination of both?
It's a combination. All throughout college, I was always the go-to person in terms of like beauty and skincare recommendations. I could like pull it up. I literally have like a Google Excel list or Google Sheets list of all the products that I've used, all of my beauty reviews on them, and if I would recommend it to people or who I would recommend it to. Like I didn't make any content this. I would literally just share this with my friends and be like, oh, if you want to find a recommendation, I have it all here. I kind of already had a huge interest in all of this and did a lot of research even before I was like making videos on it. And I also think it has to do with like that's what the people want to see. Like people were really like eating up the skincare content. So of course, when you're first starting out to be a content creator, you really want to make sure that you're giving the people what they're requesting, right? You want to make videos about what they want to see rather than just doing it through your own interests. Obviously, like it's good that you're like into whatever videos that you want to make, but you also want to make sure you're not like being selfish and also give other people what they're requesting.
Wow, Helen, first of all, love the fact that you combined your passion for skincare and this desire to help your friends discover what works for them and somehow ultimately made it your job. Was it an easy decision for you? It sounded like, based on your earlier story, that was like actually a quick decision for you to transition from your corporate finance job into like doing content and skincare full time. But can you describe to me in that moment, what was that decision like? And if there's one thing that particularly made you take the leap of faith in?
Yeah, so I feel like I say it so like nonchalantly now because I'm like, oh, it's been more than 2 years now. So it seemed like a quick decision, at least looking back on it. But I was really scared to do that. Felt like all of my internships were going to waste. I felt like my major was going to waste. I like spent all this time trying to hone in onto like a good job so that I can like climb the corporate ladder when in fact I realized I didn't really want to do that in the end. Because I worked in finance, I actually projected like my finances to see like how it would go because obviously I knew there was a lot of earning power in like being a creator, but I needed to make sure I need to have some sort of like stability. So I want to show to like prove to myself that this is something that's going to be viable. Also because I had pretty strict and traditional parents. And I don't think they like I literally didn't tell them that I quit my job until 3 months after because I didn't want them to be like, oh, take your job back. So like when I told them, they're like, oh, you should go back to your job. I was like, it's already been 3 months and you didn't even notice that I didn't have a job. So like obviously I'm making enough money. I really think it has to do with like my friends, not that they pushed me to do it, but we really like weighed the pros and cons. Also, like my partner was like, "Oh, like you should try this out." Like he was really supportive about that. So, like hindsight, it seemed like it was a quick decision, but I was like really thinking it over for like a few months. But yeah. But
I
yeah.
love that story. Our podcast, for all the new viewers, is called On the Rise. It tells stories of people not too different from ourselves who had to make a recent change and that led to a completely different path in life. And I feel like your decision making and jumping to content creation wasn't from a place where you had a huge following, you had guaranteed income that was surpassing your stable 9 to 5 job, and yet you made that decision. So I think a lot of people are maybe in similar shoes to you, just trying to make a jump into a passion project that they love, and to go through that decision, I think would be helpful to hear from someone else who successfully made a transition.
Yeah, so I think like what really kind of struck me in terms of like, oh, maybe I should quit my job and like try this out full time is when I started making more money, not more money, but basically the same amount in content creation versus like my salary job. I think like I'm a pretty logical person. So once that hit, I was just like, oh, like obviously like I'm not even putting my all into this like content creation. And it seems like I always knew it was a big industry because there's people like me who was very easily influenced by these other creators. And I loved watching creators. So I'm like, I know the industry is really big and it's probably going to get even bigger because like there's so many different industries now, like not just beauty, but just like in terms of content creation in general, there's so many platforms and everything. I didn't have any kind of free time, honestly. Like my free time was making content. So all I would do is work, and right after I'm done working, I would make videos, or I would make videos in between meetings because I was working from home. So I would like in between meetings, I'm like, oh, let me shoot like a quick like TikTok video and like edit that and upload and everything. The money was coming in, and I noticed that there was probably like a really big earning potential in terms of being a creator, but also because I felt not burnt out, but kinda like I was feeling really tired of not putting my all into either like my job or my platforms. And I just felt like my platforms, I own that, you know, the job will always be there. I don't own that company, but I just felt like my platforms and everything was like my child. So I need to like nurture it. And in order for me to like grow and actually make this like a viable decision, I need to put like my 100% into it.
So leading up to this decision, when you're weighing out the pros and cons, you mentioned that you went to your friends, and I guess your family didn't know because they only found out 3 months later. But I'm curious why what was your thought process going to your friends for advice? Because for me, I just put in my notice to leave my job recently, and I feel like in some cases I was actually defending myself to my friends where they would say, you're not working that much, you're getting paid, cushy tech money, like, why would you leave? And I know it's a different situation because I'm not making any income from anything else right now, but I'm just curious on, you went to friends and how much you trusted their opinion versus trusting your gut, things like that.
Yeah, I think like for friends, I think in my friend group, people know me as a pretty logical person. So I have very, very usually have like really good reasons why I want to do something. And honestly, part of me thinks it's also because when I make my mind or like put my mind to something, I will stick with it. But a lot of my friends are also pretty logical too. So of course, like a lot of them even not told me to stay at my job, but they kind of said the same things as you. Like, oh, it doesn't take that much time. Like obviously you're still making content while you're doing it. But I think when they noticed like I've been wanting to do this for a while, and they could tell that I know a lot about skincare. I know a lot about just like, I was really interested in like just the creator economy in general. Like I watched so many videos, not just like in terms of beauty and skincare videos, but like the business side of it. So I think a lot of them noticed that I'm interested in like what genre I'm talking about, and I'm interested in like starting my own business or like running something like more of like a freelance job rather than a corporate 9 to 5 job. So most of my friends who I talk to about this though are like my friends from like a long time ago, like middle school, high school, like early college. So I feel like they know me pretty well.
The theme that I hear throughout all this is you have very supportive friends who know you and also helped you make this decision and leap. But that probably doesn't change the fact that every day is so different now. So one thing I am curious now that you've become a full-time content creator is, what does the day-to-day look like? And does it ever get lonely just working for yourself by yourself?
Day-to-day is obviously different. I would say that I'm not the kind of person who really likes to bulk film too much, because if I sit on an idea for too long, I don't like it anymore. Or like I rewatch the video, I'm like, I don't like this video anymore. And also trends on TikTok, like they circulate so quickly. Like there'll be a trending sound for like 1 or 2 days, and then it'll be a different trending sound. So you kind of always need to be on top of it. Like a lot of times since I moved to New York now, it's a lot less lonely because there's a lot more creators here, and it's so much easier to meet people and to like talk to people, because when I was living in the suburbs, there's like nothing, especially for beauty content creators, there was nothing in the Bay Area for that. It was mostly like for tech or like food or something like that. But for now, like I think I film like a few videos a day. In terms of short form videos, I try to film like one long form video once a week or once every other week. And honestly, a lot of it is like meetings with brands, meeting with other creators, editing is a big one, because like I actually just recently hired an editor for YouTube. But before that, I was editing all of my YouTube videos, editing all of my TikToks, and honestly, it's just a lot of email correspondence. It doesn't feel that different sometimes from my corporate job. It's just that I can do it whenever, I could do it like in the middle of the night if I wanted to. I do a lot of like my socializing stuff, like meetings with brands, meetings with other creators during the day, because there's honestly like just a lot less people around in New York during the day because they're all in their corporate jobs. And then I do a lot of like my admin work at night.
A couple of the things you mentioned just stick out to me. You mentioned how in New York there's this thriving creator scene and how you're taking meetings with some of these creators. But then when I was doing some, I'll call it research for the pod, I was just watching your videos, right? Like a lot of it is just you in it. So, we don't really see that behind the scenes look when you're hanging out with other creators. So I'm really curious what that's like. Are you creating content with them, or are you just trying to understand what it's like being a creator, or is it just pure fun, pure socialization?
I usually don't create content with other creators just because I think like the era of like collabs, especially for like beauty, is like kind of over because people are not that interested. They just want to see you recommending the product, or they want to see that person's day-to-day life. They're not that interested in like other people's unless it's like a long form video. So like it's on YouTube or something. But a lot of times like when you meet creators, it's honestly just networking. Like a lot of it is networking, a lot of it is knowing other people in the industry. So like you have some sort of transparency in terms of like brand rates and everything. You have someone to like just like introduce you to other brands, introduce you to other people, and sometimes it's just social. Like you finally have someone who understands like the kind of day-to-day life that you go through, the kind of struggles that you go through as a creator. It's like having coworkers basically.
Right. And are these creator friendships being formed through the platforms themselves? Like, are you meeting other creators through TikTok or Instagram or YouTube and then kind of like DMing each other and saying like, oh, we should meet up in person? Or are these friendships that start out in real life and then you kind of like ask, oh, do you know any other creators? And then it branches off from there.
I think it's both. A lot of the people that I met up when I moved to New York, I already have been following them for like 2 years. Like we've been messaging each other for 2 years. And now that I've moved to New York, there's a lot of events actually for skincare and like beauty. So a lot of times the brands invite like a ton of creators just to talk about like their new launch, what other campaign that they have, and just to like meet them. So a lot of people are like on the brand side of things, and I'll meet people through there. So like I wouldn't have been following them in the first place, but it's just nice to like network with people. And honestly, it's just an easier way of meeting people in New York. There's so many people in New York, and I'm not working like a regular corporate job, so it's hard to make friends and hard to meet people when you're not seeing someone like all the time. So it's nice to have that sort of like event where we all have kind of the same interests, It's like joining a club.
Yeah, New York City is one huge club, and I'm glad you moved here. I moved here. A lot of our friends did as well. I think knowing the right people doing your work really opens up your world a little bit. This actually leads well into a question I had for you, which is I saw on your social media, I also heard that you did spend a significant amount of time more recently in Korea, the capital of skincare and makeup. So can you tell us just a little bit about the journey that you made to go to Korea, what that was like, and why you even went in the first place?
I've never lived outside the Bay Area all my entire life. Like I was born there. I went to college there. I spent 23 years in the Bay Area. So I've always wanted to live, honestly, somewhere outside the country. And when I quit my job, that's when I kind of had the idea of like, oh, maybe I should move to Seoul. But I really thought about for Korea is because I already worked with a lot of Korean beauty brands. Like they obviously have like a huge bustling skincare and makeup industry there. And a lot of them are honestly trying to spread into the English speaking market in general. So they needed to go kind of work with a lot of content creators that are like the English speaking content creators. That, and I visited Korea before and it was so beautiful. I just wanted to try living there. Everyone who's lived there has always told me like, oh, it's pretty safe for someone living by themselves, and it's not super expensive compared to like living in New York or living in SF. So that was kind of like my thought process, and how I got there was actually through a student visa. So I took Korean classes every single day. Like I wanted to have a permanent address, a lease. Like I want to actually try living somewhere abroad and not always think about it as like, oh, where's my next session? Wanted to like kind of form a community there. In terms of actually like talking to people and communicating, I was never like scared to talk to people or like scared to like order things or whatever, but literally like I would be on like my translation app and be like, oh my gosh, like what do I say? Like honestly, like can I pay for this? like I've never felt that way before, because I've never lived in a place where I don't speak the language fluently. So it was a very humbling experience to say the least.
While we're on the topic of Korea, it just made me think about like plastic surgery for some reason, and I have a bit of a more philosophical, deep question. Like on a spectrum of, ranging from skincare to plastic surgery, and I think beauty and makeup is somewhere in the middle in terms of how much you're changing your natural self. Like, how do you view that spectrum? Where like I think skincare is more about like preserving the healthy you, the natural you. Beauty and makeup, you're changing the way you look. You might be adding different colors onto your face, and then plastic surgery is like a complete modification. Like, what are your views on that, on plastic surgery, and is there like this defined line separating beauty and skincare from plastic surgery, or is it a more gradient?
With plastic surgery, I always think like, oh, to each their own. It's like your body. Like it's not my thing to judge you or like to kind of like to say to do it or not. Obviously, I think for plastic surgery and like fillers and Botox, I'm scared of it because I personally don't know the implications of like long-term stuff because there's no like studies on it, right? Like it's so new. For makeup and skincare, I feel like makeup, I understand your point for that, but I also think it is good for like people who like, let's say if you have like really acne prone skin or there's something that you want to change at least for like a few hours or something, you can just like put something on and feel a little bit more confident, right? And for skincare, I also think it's the same thing. Like it boosts like your confidence a little bit. Like obviously, like as much as we don't like this, people who like abide to society's standards of beauty do get treated better. Like that's just like the honest fact of the matter. Like it's just easier to put something on that's like a little bit changes just your face just a little bit to kind of make you feel a little bit more confident in today's society. But I really don't like when it's like not disclosed. Like when celebrities say they haven't done anything and it's like unattainable beauty. Like you should always disclose if you have anything done. But yeah, honestly, for me, it's like the health repercussions.
Would you say that beauty influencers not being transparent about their plastic surgeries is very similar to this guy Liver King not talking about his steroid and growth hormone usage? I don't know if you know about this.
Is he like a fitness person?
I know about this one. Yeah, there's a lot of allegations coming out recently
Oh,
of these.
really? No,
You
honestly, I
know,
think
Thor.
I think if you're a beauty content creator or influencer of like any status, you should tell people what kind of like procedures you had, because it's like you're trying to influence someone to buy this product, right? But a lot of times, like if that product's not going to give you clear skin because like you got like filler somewhere, like that's not going to give you the results that they want. It's kind of like false
Yeah.
advertisement, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Do you actually, on that topic, do you know who your audience is? Are these like 14 to 20-year-olds, 40-year-olds? Like, are they similar to you? Do you have the analytics on that?
Yeah, so 95% of my audience are female. So that would make sense why a lot of guys don't watch my content. I mean, I can see on the analytics side that there's not many guys watching my content, which is fine. For TikTok, a lot of them are 18 to 24-year-olds. On Instagram, it's pretty 50-50, 18 to 24 and 25 to 32, 34, something like that, next bucket. And for YouTube, it actually skews a little bit older. So it's like 25 to 32 or like 32 is like 40. Honestly, a lot of like college girls watch my videos because all the people that have come up to me to say hi to me, they're all college age girls. I don't think many guys watch me besides like guys I know in person that just like support my content as a friend.
I watch you. We watch you. We watch you a lot today.
Oh, thanks.
Can you talk a bit about what it feels like to be approached by a fan, a supporter? That's something that I feel like is a milestone as a creator, right? You start out just in your bedroom during the pandemic making videos for fun, and then you start making money, and then you move to the Big Apple, and now there's people stopping you, asking for a picture, asking for a selfie. What does that feel like?
Honestly, the first time it happened, it was so random. Like I was talking to my friend, and mind you, everyone else is Korean. They're speaking Korean to each other, and I was speaking to my friend in English, and someone was like Helen. So I'm like, who do I know here? Who do I know here that knows my name? I thought I dropped my ID or something, and I looked so shocked. I was like, what? And they're like, oh, we recognize your voice, like across from the restaurant, because I was the only person who was speaking. Me and my friend were the only people who were speaking in English, and I guess like you can kind of hear that above like all the Korean. They're like, "Oh, we recognize your voice because we watch your skincare videos." So honestly, anytime that someone comes up to me and recognizes me, I feel like I'm more of a fan. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like how are you? Like, what are you doing here? Like thanks so much for watching." Like honestly, I get really excited. I'm like, "Oh, this is like so cool." um. So yeah, it's definitely like surreal. But yeah, a lot of the people that watch my content, honestly, like they just look like I would be friends with them, you know? They look like how I would probably be like in college too.
And there's certain content creators where their content is their primary product. For you, you and your skin is the product. It's what people look at. Like, if your skin is good, then the products are good, right? Because there's no way for them to know for sure. Do you feel any pressure at all maintaining this like image of having the best skin, being in that like top percent, like constantly doing skincare? Is there any sort of pressure that comes with knowing that, you know, you are your content in so many ways?
I used to feel that way a lot before. So whenever I was breaking out, I wouldn't like to film videos. But now I kind of take it as an opportunity to show that like which products will work on like breakouts, you know. When I first started making content about skincare, I totally understand what people mean by this, but a lot of people who are older would be like, oh, like we wouldn't watch like teenagers making things about like anti-aging or like wrinkles, you know, like you don't have any wrinkles in the first place. I think as I get older, I understand like, oh, if someone actually had acne or breakouts and it's helped them, or like they're currently experiencing it, honestly, they have way more to say about a product than someone who's already had like perfect skin, right? So I actually don't feel that much pressure anymore.
Yeah, actually on this topic, I was looking through your TikToks and definitely most of them are still around beauty and skincare, but I saw the one where you're trying to turn a scarf into a balaclava. Ingenious idea, by the way. And that's like not within your core niche, I would say. So I was curious about how you feel about expanding to adjacent categories. What do you think are the ones that are like only one small hop away from what you do today?
A lot of people who do beauty, obviously, a lot of times do fashion as well. A lot of times do like wellness in terms of like working out, vlogs. I honestly really enjoy watching vlogs. I have made a lot of vlogs in the past on YouTube, not so much so on TikTok, but that's definitely something I'm trying to get into this new year. I think I know deep down beauty is still like what I enjoy making and what I enjoy trying out the most, more than fashion. But I mean, I still enjoy like buying clothes and stuff, so I might as well show. And I still have like a lot of like fashion videos that I watch, you know, I just don't make it. So I just wanted to like kind of incorporate that, maybe like incorporate more as like a one-off thing or like something that I'm interested in, and maybe incorporate more vlogs, because I do feel like when you make short form content, people don't know your personality very well, or if you make educational content, people don't really know who you are. And
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of want to break that wall probably for this next year.
Hopefully the pod helps show a little bit of who you are too. I think this really does. It comes across really authentically.
I guess on the topic of your content itself, I was looking through it and on the screen, right? So much of the screen is your face. We feel self-conscious about our faces growing up, about how they look, and especially during puberty, right? So I was wondering, how did you overcome the fear of putting yourself out there on the internet? Not just posting content publicly, but so much of your content is your face.
I feel like in the very beginning there probably was. I just really didn't like watching videos back with my face or my voice. Well, honestly, I just think it has to do with like just getting yourself used to it. Which is, that sounds like a bad thing to say, but like honestly it is. It's just, that's just like the truth. I never really did anything else to like fix that. I'm like, oh, you just gotta like suck it up, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like this next question could go two ways, in either way. So I was wondering, has being a creator improved your sense of self-confidence, or harmed it? Because I could see it in one way. You just talked about how you get used to it, right? You put out the content, you get into this process, you get used to hearing yourself and seeing yourself online. But at the same time, now that you're exposing yourself to anyone can comment, anyone can say anything to you. So how would you say your sense of self-confidence has changed since becoming a full-time creator?
Yeah, so I think like it's honestly really beneficial for me that I started out a lot later. Honestly, like I can see myself if I was like 16 or 17 or 18 years old, take a lot more of those comments or like what people say to heart. But thankfully, I'm honestly not super big enough to be getting hate comments on the daily. And honestly, I don't think my videos really kind of allow for hate comments. It's just like educational videos about skincare. Like there's not much to hate on that, Since starting to create content, I don't actually consume that much social media content like compared to before. I honestly watch a lot more like TV or movies and production instead of watching like YouTube or other TikToks or other Instagram posts, just because I feel like, I don't know, I just don't want to kind of fall into the hole of comparing myself to like other people. And also like it kind of stops your creative flow if you watch too many other videos of like other people's content.
Speaking of creative flow, do you ever get like creative writer's block?
Honestly, that's why I get into like ruts. I don't know what to make a lot of the times. I try a product for a minimum of 6 weeks because that's usually like 1 or 2 skin cycles. In terms of like dead skin cells coming off, like new skin cells regenerating, that sort of thing. And unless it's like things like a cleanser or like a sunscreen. Sunscreens I can know pretty quickly because it's like if it has a white cast, how it feels and everything. But yeah, I do get creators block, I guess. I don't know. And honestly, like that's another reason why I wanted to kind of diversify my content. For short form content, it really matters in terms of the quantity that you push out rather than a lot of times the quality. Like literally a lot of times the videos that took the least amount of work for me are the ones that go viral, which is so annoying because I'm like, I tried so hard to edit like this really good video and this one gets like, I don't know, like 10K views, whereas the other one that literally took me like 3 seconds to film get like so many views. But yeah.
Good to know, Matt. I'm listening to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I know I might not be your target demographic, but I want to use this time very selfishly. So to give you more context on me and my skincare routine, sometimes I'll just be doing a lot of camping and backpacking, and I'm just washing my face with hand soap and not really being very diligent about my skincare routine. I'm also about to be living off my savings for an undefined period of time, so I do have a bit of a budget. What are some of your tips for me as I try to take that initial step forward on creating my own skincare routine?
Yeah, there's a lot of really affordable products nowadays. Honestly, nowadays, there's way more affordable, good products versus like a couple of years ago. Because I feel like so many people realize like the affordable products are just as good as like the really expensive, like bougie products. I think a lot of it is just packaging or like maybe 1 or 2 ingredients.
Okay, cool. And actually, off of this, a more rapid fire 2-part question. Most underrated cheap product and most worth it luxury product.
Okay, what's considered cheap? Like, what's the budget for that? Like, under how much?
I'll leave it for you to define because you are the expert here.
Okay, I wouldn't say this is underrated because a lot of people on skincare TikTok do use this, but a lot of like, in general, people don't really know this brand just because it's not available in like the drugstores and stuff. But the Etude House Sunjung line or Sunjung cream, all their stuff is under $20 US. It's a Korean skincare line, but you can get it on Amazon or like on other Korean beauty retailers in the US. And it's all their stuff is really good. And in terms of most worth it luxury skincare, I would say right now, probably a good retinol for wrinkles, for whatever, for discoloration. Probably like a Murad retinol product, or if you can afford it, like tretinoin, which is a prescription-based retinol that you can get from like a general practitioner or like a dermatologist.
for the retinol products, what price point would those be?
So for tretinoin, I don't recommend beginners start with tretinoin just because that's like a lot. It's the most effective, yet it's the most harsh retinol product out there. That would be around like $50, which is honestly not really like luxury, but in terms of an over-the-counter one that you can get without a prescription that works well, also good for sensitive skin, that can be like 90, 100, 110, depending on like what brand or size.
All right, I'm glad we've entered the skincare section. Helen, I have some rapid fire questions I'm going to throw at you as well. First question, we talk a lot about skincare. How do you define good?
Yeah, so for my criteria in terms of how I judge a product, I obviously judge it on price because a lot of people are looking for either like more affordable skincare products, especially if you're a beginner. I don't like expect beginners to want like luxury skincare products anyways. Kind of the ingredients, a lot of the ingredients are what I look for in the beginning in terms of like knowing how it's going to react to my skin at least. So there's some ingredients that are good for acne prone skin, some are good for kind of more sensitive skin. A lot of ingredients can be really irritating too, so I make sure it doesn't have those kinds of ingredients. And even if it does, like it really depends on the amount that it has, like the amount of fragrance a product has or like the amount of so-and-so ingredient. I also look at sometimes the packaging because some people like, want bougie skincare because it's like really nice packaging, or they want to like gift it to someone, whether it be like their mom, their girlfriend, it doesn't have to be a girl, it could be for their dad or like their boyfriend or whatever. They want like a bougie experience, okay? And the other one would be like accessibility in terms of like where to buy it. Like, can you buy it on Amazon? Do you have to go in person to buy it? Is like, especially for Korean skincare products, like, is it hard to find it for a good price? All of that. And another one would be like if it breaks someone out. When I'm like answering DMs or I'm answering comments, like that my skin type is dry and dehydrated. And I feel like a lot of people who have my skin type are the ones who are following me because they know it's going to react similarly to their skin.
Cool. So ingredients. Okay, so in food and like nutrition, I think I value and a lot of people value really natural ingredients. But on the flip side, what I've learned, you have a lot of chemicals, like very well known things like niacinamide, hyaluronic acid. So when did those become normalized? And is there a stigma against chemical skincare versus something more natural and more herbal?
Like a lot of these natural things are chemicals. So I feel like a lot of skincare brands, they do this thing called like greenwashing. So they don't include all of these like preservatives and like things that are actually good for the product because people don't want they want all natural skincare, which honestly, like a lot of like for me, I don't really look too much into that just because like preservatives, for example, are good for your skincare because you don't want to expire in like 1 month, right? Like you want to be able to use it up and like last for a few years. In terms of like chemicals versus like clean skincare, I think it's all like a marketing tactic. Like it's really just to push out like certain brands, kind of get people who don't know too much about skincare to like buy their products. Because at the end of the day, you have to understand that it's not like a good or bad. It's not like a black or white situation, right? It's very nuanced in terms of like how much of this ingredient is in there, how it's formulated. Like if you're not a chemist in the lab formulating it, you probably don't understand like how it's stabilized and how it's good for your skin in that sense. So as I've learned more about skincare, I understand that from a chemist perspective, this is why this ingredient is important, right? And it also depends on how much of like the percentage is in there. Yeah, so that's how I feel about all natural skincare. I don't think that all natural skincare is bad, but I do personally prefer using like formulated products over like DIY at home stuff.
Interesting.
Awesome.
Does that conclude the rapid fire round from you?
That concludes one of the rapid fire rounds.
Okay. Here's a hypothetical scenario, right? You're a consultant for Sephora or L'Oreal or Maybelline. Those are actually the only beauty brands that I know, so that's why I'm just throwing them out as examples.
Beauty brands.
You're not a consultant. You are now chief strategy officer for Sephora, and you're in your planning session, but you're planning your Sephora's 30-year roadmap. What are some of the bets that you would place on certain trends playing out in the beauty and skincare industry over a 30-year horizon?
So I definitely think that in the past, a lot of beauty and skincare has been more marketed towards like more bougie skincare. So like more of the Dior's, the YSL, like very fragranced. I think now people are actually gravitating towards skincare products that look more like less frilly. Like they look more like a lab product, if anything. Like they have like all the ingredients on there. It looks more like it's not just marketed towards females. It's marketed towards everyone, you know? So I think a lot of that is going to kind of push beauty brands to kind of take that direction in terms of their packaging, in terms of like what kind of formulations they have later on, like less of the fragrance, less of like the artificial dyes and everything, and make it more results based. I also think it's going to be a lot more focused on gentle ingredients rather than like burning off your pimples or something with like this acid. A lot of it is going to be based off like hydration, long-term strategies, not kind of attacking your face with products, but more of like soothing it. Oh, also a lot of more like guys are using skincare now. So I also feel like they're kind of marketed more towards like not men's skincare, but more like skincare that anyone can use.
I want to get your thoughts on my conspiracy theory. And let me know if I'm just talking out of my ass, but I have this loosely held conspiracy theory that the beauty industry perpetuates the skincare industry in the sense that when you buy beauty products, you're covering your face and you're covering your skin from the air that it needs to breathe, and you're like caking yourself in makeup, and then that leads to pimples, like bad skin, and then you need to go buy these other products to help your skin heal. Do you think that is is there any shred of truth in that conspiracy theory?
Honestly, I think like wearing makeup is probably not good for your skin. I think skincare honestly is like it is good for your skin. Like people have been using skincare for years now. It's just gotten more advanced. Like people have been slathering lotion and aloe on their skin. Beauty industry, I do think like honestly kind of perpetuates that with like makeup and everything. But I also think that people kind of see makeup too as like a form of like art and like painting. A lot of it is like kind of like a form of using your face as a canvas, right? So I think a lot of people in beauty industry, especially if you're into skincare and makeup, know that a lot of times makeup isn't good for your skin, especially the ones like foundation, like something that goes all over your face. But that is the price that you're willing to pay, I guess.
Helen, last time, and we're going to go rapid fire on these. What is your biggest video ever by views?
One of my really big videos is skincare for beginners.
Me and you take a risk and never do.
It's on YouTube and it still gets a lot of views to this day. And I think it's self-explanatory why it gets views, because it's literally like a lot of people who are first starting to get into skincare, or they want to find like affordable products and like how to use it. It's a pretty like evergreen video, I would feel like. In terms of TikTok, I think it's when I said one of the products that I said, I'm like, oh, these are products that are like not necessary when you're first starting out. And one of them was like eye cream. And I guess it's like controversial, right? My take is that a lot of eye creams are just like expensive moisturizers. You know, you gotta make a controversial video to up the algorithm in the comments and stuff.
I guess Matt and I just have to start saying we just use hand soap for face wash over and over again on your channel, and then maybe we'll get some.
Yes,
That's what I literally do, so we're not lying here.
Okay, second one. What's your favorite video that you've ever made?
Probably say like my best of skincare videos on YouTube, but it's really like just a very large favorites video from the year. I think I like it just because I can kind of reflect over all the products I've used that year, kind of give like my very thorough reviews. It's usually like super long. It's usually like 35, 45 minutes.
Cool. And last question for me here in this section is just, if you don't mind sharing, like what does your revenue breakdown look like as a full-time creator between your brands, between the platforms paying you and sponsorships and any other partnerships that you might have?
In the beginning, it was a lot more affiliate links. Like I earn majority of my money from affiliate links because I think when you're first starting out, like not many brands know to reach out to you. I also started during the pandemic, so it's harder to like know people just because there wasn't any networking and stuff that was happening in person. So I think in the beginning, like literally I would say like 80% of my income was affiliate links, 10% brands, and 10% like platforms. Nowadays, I would say a huge chunk of it is from brands and sponsorships. Compared to before, I have a manager now. She handles all of like my inbound requests. So she's the one who negotiates for everything. Because she's worked in this industry for a long time, she knows the rates of like all the other talent, or like she knows the budgets of a lot of these bigger companies. So she's able to negotiate accordingly. Whereas for me, I was like, yes, $50 for a video. That sounds great. I can buy like so many copies with that, you know? Whereas that was like very low for them. They took it immediately. They're like $50. That's fine. Nowadays, I would say like 80% is brands now, and sponsorships, and then probably affiliate links is probably like 15% now, and 5% is honestly from platforms. On TikTok, they don't really give any money out. Like even I joined the creator marketplace, it's like nothing. Even for 1 million views on a video or like millions of views, it's like a few dollars.
That's really cool to hear, to see the evolution of your monetization over time and how that's shifted as you became more professional and got a brand manager. Last question here. If you wouldn't mind sharing, what is one of the biggest brand deals or sponsorships or partnerships you've landed since starting?
I didn't know how much money people were making, but these creators who are like in the millions in beauty, they make a lot of money. They make a lot of money. One of the biggest makeup creators, she has so many followers, like 6 million, 7 million, but I've heard that she charges $100K per brand deal.
Oh.
That's like someone's more than my full-time salary at my corporate job when I was first starting out. So I was just like, that's one brand deal, okay? Think about how many brand deals people do throughout the year. Like easily like over 1 million in the revenue. And even for creators that I know that are like in the 1 million, they make like over 1 million in revenue too every year. So for me, it can range from like, I think my biggest one was like 12K.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But like there's a lot of money in beauty for sure. But that's the biggest one. Like it really depends on the deliverables too. Like it depends if they're going to be using it for advertisement, depends how many videos they're asking for. Like if they're asking for like a TikTok or a reel or like stories, that kind of thing. But like obviously there's these huge brands like L'Oreal, Estee, all the Unilever, like these huge conglomerates, right? And beauty products are not just like talking about skincare and makeup. A lot of times it's body care. Like it's a lot of times like your body lotion or your body wash that you use every day, your shampoos, conditioners. Yeah, so I definitely think if anyone's interested in the beauty industry, they got a huge demographic in the beauty industry in terms of like, and also like just like a lot of money in terms of budget.
Wow. Thanks for demystifying that a little bit for me, for Matt, for our viewers as well. I definitely didn't know that.
Okay, cool. I'll ask the last question.
Yes.
We are approaching the end of the year. I'm about to go to Sea Ranch for some cozy cabin retreat trip. I'm going to reflect on the year and set my goals. So I'm curious to know for 2023, how are you thinking about your goals? What do you think might change the most about your content, about your business?
I definitely want to go more into kind of diversifying my content in terms of like, maybe I'll do a little bit more fashion content. Maybe I'll do a little bit more lifestyle and vlogs. I definitely think there's probably going to be a shift in that because I'm like noting that down for the next year. In terms of like beauty content, I do want to make more like evergreen videos in terms of like maybe like a video about like how to get back into skincare, or like maybe more updated videos on that. Also want to kind of lean more into understanding like different ingredients, especially tretinoin and retinol and how it works for the skin. So I'm just excited to see like what kind of things I can learn from that.
Cool.
Well, I think that's a wrap then. I appreciate you coming on the podcast, Helen. We had a ton of fun. I think this is a topic that Matt and I are just so out of our league on, and so I learned a ton from what you had to say today.
Thanks for having me on. I'm glad I got to teach you guys some stuff about skincare.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed that episode, please like and subscribe. We're just getting started to tell the stories of these amazing creators, athletes, and entrepreneurs. Drop a comment below on what was your favorite part of this episode, and stay tuned because we're going to be releasing new episodes every 2 weeks for On the Rise. See you next time.
I'll make you guys a skincare routine. I'll send you some links.
Please do. Please, we'll use your affiliate links and contribute.